You got a couple. Let the county clerk know the last first. Still have 2 minutes. Nobody else can fit in here anyway, so I guess it doesn't really make any difference.
We're going to start this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance, but after it's over, I would ask you to continue to stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just wanted to start with a note of perspective. We're going to have some squabbles, some disagreements in the meeting this morning, but they're really nothing compared to the heartbreak and the sorrow and the grief in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio today. And I would ask that we bow our heads for a moment of prayerful silence in respect to those communities. Thank you, and please be seated. Welcome to the, it's not me. Welcome to the August 5th, 2019 meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Bob Archer. I currently serve as chair of the commission and represent District 3, alongside Commissioner Bill Rippon, who represents District 1, and Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2. Welcome and good morning, everyone. Good morning. First item of business, please.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
2 items on the consent agenda.
Would move for approval as presented.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Under Equipment Fund, Tailor-Made Company, $12,480 is for playground surface at Betty Dunn Park. As of August 2nd, 2019, total vouchers of $503,958.43, and I move that we approve the vouchers.
Second.
Motion made to approve the vouchers by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve the correction orders by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Parks and Recreation number 1, consider authorization and execution of Contract C 275-2019, amending Contract C 326-2017 with TARC pertaining to the Winter Wonderland event to specify maintenance days and adjusted financials.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sean Osborne, Parks and Recreation. The item before you is just an amendment to the contract. What we are doing with TARC is we looked at what we were putting out on the weekends and holidays, and we were trying to lower our cost, and in turn, in that partnership, we lowered theirs and gave them the opportunity to seek somebody out to do the electrician work in case there's a problem on their main money days of weekends and holidays out at Lake Shawnee. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Sean?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made to approve the contract by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Sean. Next item, please.
Item B2, consider approval of request to reclassify 10 park maintenance positions at an annual salary, including benefits, of $40,747.20, and 1 recreation leader reclassification to park maintenance technician at an annual salary, including benefits, of $48,609.60, resulting in an additional annual cost of $26,980 with funding from the Parks and Recreation operating budget, and to fill 7 of those vacant positions, and to fill any positions that become vacant as a result of filling these positions.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Department. Yes, we're asking for your consideration to reclassify 10 park maintenance worker positions. We currently have 4 of those positions filled. We do have 6 vacancies, so we're also asking to reclassify and then subsequently fill these positions. We are also asking to reclassify a rec leader position in our natural areas division. That particular position was responsible for providing interpretive nature programming, those sorts of things. We think we can accomplish that in our rec services division. And so we would like to reclassify this position to a maintenance tech position, so they'll actually be doing work on a daily basis to help maintain our natural areas, all the trees and all of our parks, and roughly, I think, about 560 acres of natural areas. As was previously mentioned, the results of all of these changes would cost us almost $27,000, but we do have money in our operating funds to cover that. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there questions for Tim? Commissioner Cook?
Tim, can you walk us through why this request is before us? Why are we doing a reclassification? Typically, when we see reclassification, it's either because your department has sat down with human resources to refine and define the job description to what the person is actually doing, or a skeptical response might be that you're trying to give somebody a pay raise where they would not otherwise qualify.
Right. Well, let me start off by saying we have met with HR and we have gone through these position descriptions to make sure they match what the staff are doing. But we are also trying to make these positions more, we're trying to make them more attractive positions to the general public. The starting wage right now, I believe, is $10.92. This would raise that to $12.23. I've spent some time over the last probably 4 to 5 weeks looking at the want ads. It wasn't for me personally, just checking out what these positions, we'll see how the meeting goes today. No. Just looking to see what these types of positions pay. And there are some out there that pay $10 an hour, but there are very few. Most of them are much higher than that. And I think even those organizations are having trouble filling those positions. So we're just trying to make it more attractive. There's also a benefit, I believe, to having these full-time staff on duty all year, as opposed to our intermittent staff who are only on duty for about 1,500 hours a year. So.
Thank you.
No questions. Okay. Did I hear a motion to approve?
I move that we approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Tim. Next item, please.
Item C, corrections. Number 1, consider approval and execution of contract C 276-2019 with Boundtree to purchase 7 automated external defibrillators at a cost of $9,995 with trade-in rebate and with funding from the 2019 Contingency Fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. A part of our accreditation is to continuously audit and look at the equipment and our policy procedures that we have at the Shawnee County Department of Corrections, and which includes both the annex, the adult detention center, and also community corrections as well. In going through our recent audit of our defibrillators, or AEDs, let's just go that route, that we have throughout the facility. We did have 10 inside the main facility. We did find out that because of space and response and working with our vendor, that we could reduce that number down to 7. We do have medical staff that respond, and they do carry one as well. But the ones that we have are becoming outdated. They're no longer being used, being able to be certified. And when you have an audit, it doesn't look very good if you have outdated defibrillators, or if you had a lawsuit, that probably wouldn't be very good as well. We did meet with, because this did come later down the year and we didn't expect this audit to come up, we did meet with Betty Greiner with Audit and Finance regarding this request. And we both believe that if, with your approval, that it could be used to contingency funds. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Brian Cole this morning? Commissioner Rippon?
Brian, are all of your staff trained?
Yes,
To use
it's mandatory. They go through CPR and first aid. We do that every year. Yeah, and they all carry, everybody has to. all the way up to me.
Opposed, no. Motion
Memorandum of Understanding with the United Way to serve as the fiscal agency for the Early Childhood Block Grant with an award of $266,397 for the Health Department.
Good morning, Commissioners. Teresa Fisher with the Health Department. Before you today is a request to enter into a contract with United Way in order for them to serve as a fiscal agent for the Early Childhood Block Grant. United Way has served as the past several years as the fiscal agent for this grant. As part of their responsibilities, they compile the monthly affidavits from each of the community partners and then in turn submit them to the Children's Cabinet. Our Nurse Family Partnership Program is the one who utilizes this grant. And then the Early Childhood Block Grant dollars serve as a match for the outreach, prevention, and early intervention services, what we call as Medicaid match through Kansas Department of Health and Environment that we also receive. So I'd like to take just a few minutes and present about the Early Childhood Block Grant and what that collaborative looks like here in our community. Right one here. So here in our community, we call this collaborative the Capital Area Successful Start, or known as CAS. And so we received part of the Master Tobacco Settlement Funds from many years ago. And so they're funneled down through the Children's Cabinet, and we use them here in our community to target at-risk children. Part of our goal, or a large part of our goal, is also working on the school readiness, which we know is one of the pillars for Momentum 2022. The partners that sit at this table, there's 8 of us, and so besides the health department, you'll see those listed here. We have United Way of Greater Topeka, that's the fiscal agent. We have Kansas Children's Service League, their Healthy Families program, and then also their parent engagement and leadership in their 24/7 Dads program. We have USD 501's Parents as Teachers program. We have TARC, their infant toddler program. We have Child Care Aware of Eastern Kansas that provides different classrooms here in our area. We have Family Service and Guidance Center that provides preschool consultation for children with significant social and emotional needs. And then we have Community Action, which provides both Head Start and Early Head Start. This is a picture of our last overall report that we received. Wichita State University is on contract with the Children's Cabinet to provide some information for our collaborative. So the information you see on the board here is a snapshot of our year from June of 17 through May of 2018. They typically come each fall and present the preceding year. So you'll see that here in our community, this collaborative of 8 partners served 756 children that represented almost 700 families. I would draw your attention on the right. They break down these risk factors, which I'll talk about here in a minute, but 97% of the families that we're seeing had at least one risk factor served, and that's important to understand. So the risk factors that are identified, the Children's Cabinet puts together the list of risk factors each year. They typically are fairly the same. They might vary a little bit each year, but these are things that they identify as families being at risk, so families that we would want to target. We know when these particular risk factors are present, there's an increased likelihood of these children not being ready for school, not being ready for kindergarten. Again, the ones that we would try to target. And then also, you guys have heard about the Adverse Childhood Experiences, or ACEs. And so we know that there's an increased likelihood when there's more risk factors present, the increased likelihood for ACEs, which of course later on in life talks about years of life lost and quality of life here in our community. So I always talk about why it's important. And so I just want to reiterate that for us, school readiness really starts with the pregnancy. And so birth to the first 3 years of life are the most important years in a child's life. So that's why these programs that focus on that period of development, so important. We're working on developing that child's relationships and experiences so that they are better equipped to go to school and be a part of our community. I selected the Nurse Family Partnership goals here. These are some of the national statistics. So the how do we know it works, if you will. So overall, we have seen in the Nurse Family Partnership Program over a little over 40 years of evidence that we have seen a 79% reduction in preterm delivery. We've seen a 50% reduction in language delays, 67% reduction in intellectual problems, 59% reduction in childhood arrest. We've seen 82% increase in maternal employment and a 20% reduction in welfare use. So each of the collaborative partners that sits at the table has outcomes that look very similar to these in respective for their areas. And so they all have the evidence that also backs them that show that they're worthy of the investment here in our community. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have about this contract.
Commissioners? Questions? Thank you so much. I always love to see numbers, and positive numbers like that for our community are outstanding, so thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll move to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0 again. Thank you so much. Next item, please.
Item D2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-278-2019 with Kansas Children's Service League to renew outreach, prevention, and early intervention services from July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020, with $361,000 in accessible funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Teresa Fisher with the Health Department. Before you today is a request to enter into an agreement with Kansas Children's Service League to provide home visitation services here in our community. Again, this is a contract we've had for several years. Last year, we really updated the contract to outline some specific obligations and services provided, and it also allowed for better transparency as far as financial reporting for both the Health Department and Kansas Children's Service League. The two programs that use this are the Nurse Family Partnership, again, and Healthy Families. And again, the Early Childhood Block Grant and the Medicaid Match Grant are the funds that are being referenced in this contract. Kansas Children's Service League is considered a subrecipient of this grant award because these dollars are only accessible to draw down through the local health department. Thus the reason for our request to enter into contract. And today, Commissioners, I've asked Chastity Pfizer, who's the supervisor with Healthy Families at Kansas Children's Service League, to join us. And she's got a few slides to give an overview of their program also.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chastity Pfizer, Healthy Families at Kansas Children's Service League. Thank you. Okay. So Healthy Families America is a national organization, and we are accredited through that. We are actually currently going through our accreditation and are on our way to getting that approval. We work to reduce child maltreatment, improve child health, we work prenatally and up until kiddos enter a school-based setting. So we can serve 3 to 5, either preschool or kindergarten setting. We work hard to reduce the possibility of maltreatment or abuse or neglect with these children and their families. We have recently expanded our programs to serve 18 Kansas counties, including ours. Our services are focused on single parents, low income or unemployment, childhood history of abuse and other adverse child experiences, parents that have a lack of parenting skills or knowledge, current or previous issues related to substance abuse, mental health issues, or domestic violence. As I said, the home visits begin prenatally and continue 3 to 5 years old. We do routine screenings. We do the ages and stages questionnaires, and if the children are showing any delays at all, we make sure that we get them referred for further services through community partners such as TARC. We use a Growing Great Kids curriculum, which is also an accredited, nationally recognized curriculum. We transport to medical appointments to make sure that those children are getting access to those well-child visits and they are getting their immunizations. And this is just our referral process. Pregnant or the child is under 3 months old, minors need a parental permission slip signed. They can self-refer. We can accept referrals from community partners. And I know you like numbers, so. I have brought these. This is our 2018 annual report. And the numbers are on page 5. So 95% of our children across the state received a child development screen, which is that ages and stages questionnaire, and we made referrals out for those children that identified as having any risks. 82% of our moms were screened for depression prenatally and within 3 months of birth. And again, if they identified any elevated risk of depression, we spoke with them and made sure that they were referred out for services if they were interested. 81% of our children statewide were up to date with their immunizations by the age of 2. And 91% of our children had medical homes, which means they had an identified provider and they were receiving their well-child visits on time. 97% were not placed in out-of-home placement due to abuse or neglect. So that's a pretty great number, too.
Very good.
Any questions?
Are there questions? Commissioner?
Great. I would move for approval of the agreement.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next item, please.
Item E, County Councilor, number 1, consider approval of Resolution 2019-53, commencing proceedings to declare Northwest Hodges Road south of Northwest 13th Street as a minimum maintenance road.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joni Thadani, Assistant County Counselor. And as mentioned, I'm here today to go over some procedural issues in regards to making this road a minimum maintenance road. Statutorily, what has to occur is the board has to consider open consideration to determine whether or not this road could be made minimum maintenance. And to do so, pursuant to statute, you can open consideration if it's of the belief that the road is used only occasionally or only by a few individuals. To open that consideration, you would pass a resolution which opens the consideration. You would direct the Planning Commission to offer a recommendation, and then you would also set a date for a public hearing at a later time. The resolution must be published one time in a proper newspaper, the Metro News here in Shawnee County. A little bit of history of this road. It is a little portion of road about 1,800 feet long from Northwest 13th Street, and then it proceeds south to the Kansas River. And this became known to the county commissioners or to the county in general when we were looking at a conditional use permit for Kaw River Adventures proposed by the SACs. And that CUP was approved. And what had happened is we became aware of the fact that this portion of the road had been gated shut. And it had actually been gated shut for quite some period of time, maybe up to 20 years or longer. It is within the Silver Lake Township area, and Silver Lake Township was supposed to be maintaining the road. They were of the opinion that it had become a private easement and they were not maintaining it, and this gate prevented any traffic to go up and down. As a part of the conditional use permit, we required the SACs, who were the ones that had put up the gate, to remove that gate, because with the conditional use permit, they were inviting the public to go to their property, to float on the river, and do other camping activities. We wanted to ensure the safety of the citizens that were using that area and make sure access with emergency vehicles, et cetera, to obtain the road. And so that gate had to be removed as a part of that conditional use permit. It was determined that no procedure had been done to properly gate the road. There is a statute that allows someone to gate a road, but that had not been met. We were not able to find any records that indicated that the road had otherwise been vacated. It has been a road since 1870, I believe. And so as a procedure now, Silver Lake Township, because they were going to be required to start the upkeep of this portion of the road, made a request to the Planning Commission or the Planning Department to make this portion of the road a minimum maintenance road, which is why we are now here today. And as I said, this is procedural. All you would be doing today is consider opening this for consideration. You would send it to the Planning Commission, and the public hearing would be held at a later date. And so today, we're not asking you to take consideration of whether or not this road is minimum maintenance or should be minimum maintenance. It's just to open the consideration. Any questions?
Is there livestock in this area that the family has?
Either side of the road is farm ground. However, my understanding is that it has no livestock. It's just crops.
I'll move to adopt the resolution.
I'll second that.
Motion made to adopt by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
I do have one other thing. We do have to set this for a public hearing as a part of this resolution.
Okay.
And the Planning Commission, so you have to direct that the Planning Commission will consider it, which happens on September 9. And then the next time that it could possibly come back here after that hearing would be September 30th, but we're actually asking that you set a public hearing here for the Board of County Commissioners in October. So if we can have you select a date in October to have a public hearing, because that has to be published in the newspaper as a part of this resolution.
October the 3rd would be appropriate.
Okay.
I would move for public hearing on October the 3rd of 2019.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Johnny. Next item, please.
Item F, Sheriff's Office, number 1, acknowledge receipt of correspondence from Sheriff Hill to amend current contract with Tyler Technologies, contract C279-29, or 2019, to include the purchase of Socrata software to provide crime mapping technology at a cost of $19,030 with funding from the department's 2019 budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Major Hubler with the Sheriff's Office. This is a module basically through Tyler New World, which will allow real-time crime mapping, allow us to identify hotspots literally the same day as these crimes occur, and hopefully be able to do a little bit more reactive and proactive policing along with that. It draws its information directly from our Tyler New World RMS and CAD software. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may
Any
have.
questions for the major? Now that you've been promoted to major, I expect you to know more than you did when you were the captain.
I will do my best.
Motion to acknowledge receipt by Commissioner Archer, and that was seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item F2, acknowledge receipt of correspondence from Sheriff Hill to waive the purchasing policy in order to purchase a 2014 Ford E450 transportation van from the University of Kansas Medical Center to be converted into a response vehicle for the crisis negotiation team at a cost of $23,000 with funding from the sale of 11 vehicles in 2019.
Again, Major Hubler with the Sheriff's Office. This is a project we've been working on for quite some time, looking at different funding sources, et cetera. Initially, the project was going to be a Sprinter van. I think if you've seen them come across the agenda, they're quite a bit more expensive than this. Our crisis negotiators have been trying to get out of the current van, which I believe is around 2002. It has several rust problems and mechanical issues. So we've been trying to find something that is spacious enough for them to actually work, to possibly also even have an interview room built inside it, so that when we go on to scenes, we have a secure place that we can actually have conversations with people, yet the negotiators would still be able to negotiate with the barricaded subject, whatever the situation may be. We were able to locate this vehicle through an auction site. It did not sell, so we contacted them directly and offered them significantly less than what they were asking, and they were willing to sell the vehicle to us for what we found to be a very reasonable rate. And through that same auction site, we have sold several vehicles, and that's how we will fund it. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Major Hubler? Yes, Commissioner.
The waiving of the purchase policy is due to it not being subject to a bid or other open purchase.
Yes.
I would move to acknowledge receipt and waive the purchasing policy.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve acknowledging receipt by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item G, Administrative Services, number 1, final action on capital improvement program.
Before we get started, Betty, if it's all right with you, I'd like, I know a lot of people are here and want to comment on the CIP and the prospect of enhancing Family Park at 21st and Uri's. So I'm going to open, if it's all right with the other commissioners, let's have public hearing now before we get into consideration of our CIP, if that's okay. So anyone that wants to address the commission regarding the capital improvement program? And as you come up, please state your name and go from there.
My name's Dick Ketterman, and obviously a citizen of Shawnee County. I came up here, excuse me, knowing full well that what I'm about to say is not going to change anybody's minds. As a matter of full disclosure, I am a member of the Shawnee County Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. I am here as a citizen now, as a voter and a taxpayer. I saw in the paper that you had approved the money it takes to improve that lake trail, and that was a good decision, even though it's going to be cause debt. That was something that had to be done, and I kind of looked at that as a deferred maintenance type of thing. It was something for the safety of the use of that particular trail. Now, I kind of became discouraged, and it's my fault for not paying closer attention when this item about the community center and pickleball courts came up. I was not paying attention, I came aware of it when I saw the huge crowd on television that swamped this chamber a week or two ago from the pickleball people. Okay. I think that any kind of money, and we're referring to the $10 or $11 million that it would take to take care of the pickleball courts and the center, is irresponsible spending. And I couldn't help but about the same time I became aware of this, one of the public cartoons in the paper showed, I hope you can see it, or maybe you saw it when it was in the paper, and it shows the Republicans going over budget on the federal level. And that's not something that normally Republicans are noted for doing, or not wanting to be noted for it. And so I came up here both to speak to you about that and tell you of my disagreement with spending that kind of money that we don't have right now. And if you were going to, I'd much rather see it go to the deferred maintenance that we all know is a big problem for the Parks and Recreation Department, keeping their equipment and so forth up to date. And that is the main reason I'm here. I wanted to say kind of a shame on you. I've never looked at my city council or my county commission as politicians. I say that title for state and federal people. But the remark that drew laughs here a week or two ago about, well, there's two of us voting for it. I knew coming up here there was no way I was going to change your minds. I think you've already made up your mind about that. But I do want you to know as a taxpayer, had I been keeping up with things, I could have filled this chamber all the way up to upstairs if I'd had a couple of weeks to call taxpayers. It would have been simple. But like I said, that was my fault for not staying on top of something like that. So that's all I came in to say.
Very good. Thank you for your comments.
All right, thank you.
Dick, don't
Hey,
forget your
yeah, don't forget your
Thank
name.
you.
Is there anyone else who wants to address the commission? Good morning.
Hi. Last week, I spoke to you just a little bit about some of the benefits that are of playing pickleball.
your name.
Yes, my name is Eldana Coates, and I am a Shawnee County resident, and I am also a volunteer pickleball ambassador through the national organization that governs pickleball players throughout the United States, the USAPA. And I also help coordinate pickleball activities throughout Shawnee County. So I'm speaking as a representative of the pickleball community. I would just like for all of the people that are in attendance today that would support new courts at 21st and Urish to please stand.
But not a rec center.
I'm sorry, what?
But not a rec center. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to point out that we had a large crowd here last week also, but a lot of these people are different people than they were here last week because they could either not take away their pickleball time several weeks in a row, or maybe they are at their jobs. So that we do have a large group of pickleball players in the Topeka, Shawnee County. But today I just wanted to tell you of some of the economic benefits of having new courts at 21st and Urish. I have, this is my little pickleball buddy. It was given to me by a traveler from out of state. She was coming from Florida to Colorado, and she was spent a week here in Topeka in her RV. And she played pickleball with us just about every week. So you know that she spent money on groceries, gas, entertainment, restaurants, and other things that you do as you're spending a week in Topeka. But the good news is she came back. She was here last year too, and she enjoyed it so much that she came back again this year. These stories like this will only increase with a new facility of good pickleball courts in the area. One of the reasons is because the USAPA has a website, and on that website it has the places to play. So when we're going on vacation, we look up where are the places to play in whatever town we're going to. And sometimes we just choose where we're going to because of those courts. And it won't take long for Topeka to get on the map that this is a good place to play. And these people will spend dollars as they come visiting Topeka and Shawnee County. My husband and I just spent the last 3 days in Lakeville, Minnesota for a pickleball tournament. The hotel manager, when I checked in, said, "We are really glad we are here for this pickleball tournament, that it fills their hotels." This is a town of 63,000 population. These are the numbers that we spent. And I know these numbers aren't new, that you hear when other groups come to town, that the money that they spend. But this is my spending. Just in the town, the host city, we spent $285.20 in hotel, $101.54 for food, $14.31 for gas. We always like to fill up before we start home for the 7.5-hour drive home. And I spent $10 in the gift shop. So that's a total of $411.05. So that was no extra money for entertainment also. But these are dollars we spent in Lakeville, Minnesota. There were 510 participants in this tournament. That tournament has grown steadily throughout the course of that tournament. The tournament director told me that 40% of the people travel more than 100 miles to get there to that tournament. So there are roughly 200 people that were in the same situation that we were, that had hotel expenses. This is not even counting people who live there but ate out in Lakeville that would not have done so. And this is, that would be approximately $83,000 that was pumped into their economy, into their businesses. And I want to point out that this tournament was held on 20 courts. That's the same number of courts that is being proposed at 21st and Urish. Last month, we attended a tournament in Hot Springs, Arkansas. There were 420 participants, and that tournament has steadily increased through the years. And thousands of dollars were pumped into that economy for local restaurants, hotels, and their businesses. The month before that, we went to a tournament in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, you get the picture. Pickleball players will travel to tournaments, and they're growing. I registered for some tournaments that close within 17 minutes of the registration being open. You have to be very fast on the computer. Pickleball is a growing sport, the fastest growing sport of racket players in the U.S. Currently, Topeka holds 2 tournaments. Pickleball tournaments. We hold the Sunflower Games here in Topeka, and we hold the Senior Games here in Topeka. Sunflower Games, we've had to cap out at 200 players. We've had to turn players away because not having enough room and facility to play, to hold them. Senior Games has outgrown the current facility. We certainly want the Topeka, Shawnee County businesses to have the same economic boost that other cities are taking advantage of. Is building pickleball courts all about economics? No. We, the pickleball community, recently held a paddle drive for players that did not, for kids, children in the area that did not have paddles. These were given away. We included paddles, a bag, and visors. Last week I touched on how many players were growing in pickleball, how many players we're teaching every week. And I'm not going to go back over all of this, but I do want to say that this is a multi-generational sport. It's a lifetime sport, and many of us play many times a week. It is a way of life for many supporters here and the hundreds of other people that play within Shawnee County. And we, the pickleball community, thank you for a yes vote.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission?
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll try to take just as much time. I appreciate this opportunity to be before you again. Unfortunately, as an advisory council member, this was never brought before us at the advisory council, which is specifically talked about in your contract with the city on page 6 and 7 of the consolidation contract of August 2nd, 2011. And if it had been brought to us, I'm going to make this into the record. We could have been having these discussions. In fact, several pickleball people contacted me over the last couple months. I said, would you please come to the advisory council and just tell us what you need? We've had the disc golf people there. We've had the ski club from Shawnee County there, Lake Shawnee. We've had a number of different people with different concerns come to the advisory, and some of the times we were able to work it out, and then we made recommendations to you, the county, including keeping your policing, including how we needed to sell beverages under supervision at the various ball diamonds, which fortunately for the advisory council, we were there to interact on that. We've handled many numbers of issues, and I was on that. I've been on this council for approximately 3 years, and from the first couple meetings, I insisted we need to have public comments, and everybody agreed. We've got a very good group. We've got some of them right here. Dick's with us. Anybody want to raise your hands from the advisory council? Okay. We meet once a month, and as I said, even over the weekend, I was talking to pickleball people. So I want to talk about some of those comments that I got back, including this morning, where I was told $1 million will build these courts at Urish from one of the pickleball people. Because I've been continually asking what is the number that you want or that you need. And I talked to Dean. Is Dean here? Yes, sir. I won't misquote you. Dean told me that they probably wouldn't mind having a restroom facility at Hughes Park where they currently are now. I don't know if that would supplant this desire, but when we have about 600 people in the community that are using these facilities, that's fine. We want to make sure that we try to accommodate them. They do have 18 courts at Hughes. They don't have lights. So this facility out at 21st, if it was built, and I was told it could be built for about $230,000, comparing that to units that were built in Arizona of 24 courts, that would be sufficient. Now, what you've also got going on at 21st and Urish is you have existing parking for a facility that I'm told is starting to have declining use, the aquatics park. And we know that it's only used 3 months out of the year anyway. By the way, that cost us a $675,000 per year bond payment, which is not covered by fees. So I was told all of that. I was also pointed out that we have 20 unused courts at right south of Robinson. That area was discounted because some people had safety issues about it. I said, okay. I don't, but I'm not one of you. I don't feel, endangered when I go in that neighborhood, but other people would. That's fine. So I accept that. But that could be 40 courts. And it has 14 lights. I know because I just took pictures of them over the weekend. But I do believe it's not being used. Now, it is owned by 501, but we've had a long-term agreement with 501 to use those courts. I know because my sons practiced tennis over there when they were in high school at Topeka High. I'm saying all that because I want to get to the heart of the matter. Whether we have more pickleball courts or not is not my primary issue today. I can see us being able to squeeze some money, maybe out of ending balance reserves that we have at 25%. We could squeeze probably $230,000 out of that and actually pay for what these people want. I do question, will it cause them to abandon Hughes Court? Do they have enough users to support both facilities? There was also a facility brought up at Washburn Park, which I went and took pictures of, and it looks like there's 8 courts over there that are pretty much abandoned as tennis courts, and it's a very nice park. And it's right off 10th and approximately Oakley. So that's a pretty safe neighborhood. Would that help augment Hughes Park instead of a new park? These are all questions that could have easily been run by the advisory council, and we could have done our reporting to you as is required under the contract. Let me refer to the contract. This contract was negotiated by the city and county for a reason. And this advisory council was specifically put in there to bridge the gap of knowledge between the city and county and make sure that city residents and county residents, and by the way, my name is Joseph Ledbetter, and I am a city and I am a county resident, and I am on the advisory council. And my comments today are mine. They are not anybody else's. They're specifically from me. However, I do have a lot of influence with some of the people on the advisory that agree with some of what I'm saying, as well as a number of people in the community. Some of them have been emailing you. Okay, I'm quoting from the contract of August 2nd, 2011 between the city and county that was ratified by both bodies. The county and Shawnee Parks and Rec Department shall consult with the advisory board regarding major proposals and propositions for the construction, reconstruction, and improvement of public parks and recreation facilities in the city and county, including any acquisitions of parklands, acquisitions of major recreational equipment and facilities, and the initiation of new programs in the recreational system. All such proposals and propositions shall be taken under consideration by the advisory board. And such advisory board shall make reports and recommendations to Shawnee County Parks and Rec. What has happened was 2 meetings ago, we just got word that we had this CIP proposal. We had never seen it before. That night, we did not have the CIP budget presented to the advisory council. This was 2 months ago. I had to ask the director, and I don't think it's his fault, but I will just say I asked him for it. He sent it to all of us the next day. Now, the meeting was only 2 meetings away, or 2 weeks away down here at the county commission. I don't consider that following the procedures, and I don't consider it respectful to the advisory council. What is our purpose if we're not to advise? And we've given you excellent advice in the past, including the desperate need for deferred maintenance money. I am opposed to this proposition of $10 million for a new rec center at 21st and Urish. We currently have absolute unmet maintenance needs. We have a current status of $14 million in deferred maintenance problems and needs in Parks and Rec. We have a maintenance desert countywide in our Parks and Rec. We have numerous playground deserts in at least a dozen or more, that's just the ones I've counted, of neighborhood parks surrounded by residents that have almost no or none playground equipment. I actually believe our children are just as important as everybody in this room. And they are our future citizens, and they are the future. In fact, there was a big discussion at the beginning of this meeting about healthy kids and the money we're spending to try to keep our kids healthy. Doesn't that also apply to playground equipment in our parks? The idea and concept on 21st and Urish has not been thought out and will cost $850,000 per year in bond payments alone. Those come from your own bond people. In addition, possibly as much as $500,000 or more that will need to be spent in annual operations costs to run such a facility, although we don't exactly know what's proposed. That would include staff, utilities, lighting, maybe any security that's needed. I believe this will blow a big hole in the Parks and Rec budget in the future. That's my concern, the future. It'll probably sink us like a Titanic. I actually believe that if you don't make sure these funds are needed or that are going to be needed are made for the future, which you can't do today because we don't even know what's going to be built, that it will cause the closure of several East Topeka and North Topeka Parks and Rec centers and possibly swimming pools to fund it, to make sure that money is there to fund the new operation. I compare it to building a brand new addition on a rundown house. Not that the house is completely run down, but we need work on what we already have. We need maintenance. And when you don't do maintenance on a vehicle, like a oil change, the $50 today might cost you $5,000 tomorrow. And that's one of the problems with deferred maintenance. It continues to expand. It's exponential. Additionally, the area picked is an area that is not a completely connected neighborhood like what you have around Gage Park or like what you have on all sides of the lake. There are fields in between developed houses. There is a golf course that takes up a lot of space that does not add population to who would use the recreation center. In fact, I've been told that the golf course there does not pay for itself, that only Lake Shawnee pays for itself in golf fees. These are some of my concerns. Can we not put playground equipment in our parks and actually take care of all the parks? I don't mind building something at Family Park, but not at this number. We cannot afford it. And we have no money figured out in the future for what it's going to cost to operate. A pickleball court would not cost much to operate any more than a tennis ball court would cost a lot of money to operate. But a recreation center, that's another matter. That's huge. So I'm going to end this conversation by saying these are my comments. but also by saying that pickleball is fine. I have no problem with it. I just want them to share with the softball leagues, the soccer leagues, all the additional people we have in this community that have needs and want these parks to be taken care of, including playground equipment for the kids. And I do believe we can share. I believe we learned that in kindergarten. We know how to share. But what I don't want to see happen is a huge item that was never brought before the advisory, never thought out, never vetted. That's the words of one of the commissioners about one of the things that Parks and Rec brought up last fall. You didn't vet this with the advisory council. That was on the beverage sales of alcohol. And I agreed with you. You were correct. Today, this is not well vetted. If it was vetted, I might be in support of it. The postscript to this is that any recreation center you need out west, if you just went over to Westridge and negotiated some lease space with that mall, you might actually help yourselves and help them at the same time and have some indoor space if that's what you wanted. And it would allow us to, instead of committing to long-term bond debt, to actually see if such a facility would actually be used and well utilized in that area. And it's only a mile away. It's at Wanamaker and 21st. Just a thought, trying to be creative here, trying to save our tax people, our citizens, some tax dollars. Any questions of anything I've said?
No, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wants to address the commission?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Teresa Miller.
Good morning.
I've emailed you guys on my vision of 21st and Urish. And then, since then, I have looked at other things and have changed my mind. I'm not in support of that, putting the pickleball courts out there because, as Joe said, there's a lot of things that need to be taken care of. I'm also going to be talking to you as a past Neighborhood Improvement Association president. I dealt 13 years with the park department redoing a park in my area and watched a lot of things in parks disappear because of deferred maintenance. There's so many things out there that needs to be fixed. First of all, there was our flower beds they took out. A lot of parks are losing flower beds because they said we can't afford them anymore. Certain things were being taken out because they couldn't afford the maintenance on them anymore. So here's what this is what I'm trying to say. And my grandfather always said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We really can't afford to build the pickleball court out at 21st and Urish. And I love to play pickleball. I would like to learn to play that. Possibly, maybe look at some of the old tennis courts around town and in nice areas and use them as pickleball courts. Now, there's only one person who's going to make this decision. Both of you, Mr. Cook and Mr. Archer, you're already set in what your decisions you want. So, Mr. Rippon, I'm speaking to you. As the past of working for Parks and Rec, and I've dealt with you for over the 13 years, I'm going to get a little personal. Don't mean anything by it. I'm trying to tug to your heartstrings, okay? Understand that. We have been told in a lot of our parks that we are losing things in our parks, which affects the neighborhoods. So I want you to think before you vote today, because you are the swing vote. What would you do if somebody came along and told you, Mr. Rippon, I'm so sorry, we don't have the funding anymore to take care of Mead Park in your memorial? How would you feel if somebody did that to you? That is what is happening now in our parks because we don't have the funding. There is too much deferred maintenance, and we need not to make any more expenditures and take care of what we have. That is all I'm going to leave you with, and I'm sorry I had to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Geis. I'm a citizen of Shawnee County, and I hadn't planned to speak this morning, but I just wanted to say a few words about pickleball in another sense, and that is the health and wellness factor. You know, we have an epidemic in this country of people that are out of shape and kids that are addicted to devices and phones, and anything that we can do to encourage people to get moving, to stay active. Playground equipment, certainly, absolutely. I mean, I'm in full support of whatever we can do, but I'm here to tell you, pickleball is a dynamic sport. It's changing lives, and I think we need to be forward-thinking in how we address this, wherever it may be. I understand the budgetary concerns, but we need to be sure that we have wonderful courts with great surfaces, lighting, so that people can take advantages of it who aren't just playing during the day, but weekends and evenings, and with bathroom facilities. It's just so important. So anything that we can do that keeps our community moving, and it's also, we know that if our residents stay healthy, that also saves costs in the long run. And pickleball is doing that, not only for seniors. People keep talking about how it's a senior sport. It is not. It is a sport for all ages, that people can bring their grandkids out and their kids out too. So I would just encourage Topeka to be forward-thinking in this. And when we first moved here several years ago, people said, well, why are you moving to Topeka? Why don't you move to Lawrence, or why don't you move to Kansas City? There's a lot more to do there. There's not much to do in Topeka. Well, we have found that there is, of course, a lot to do in Topeka, and we're grateful for the things that are happening right now to address that and to make that even more so, all the things that are happening in this community. And we think that this pickleball proposition, wherever it may be, whatever it will look like, is going to be a great thing for the citizens of Topeka, so that we know that people will come out and have a lot to do here. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Marilyn Kelliker. I am a pickleball player. I have not emailed you. I have not spoken up. One article in the Sunday paper, I think his name was Mr. Samuelson, but he was talking about seniors, and I don't need to go on about that. It is multi-generational. And again, I think due to Susan Winter, provided pickleball paddles and balls to a local daycare that shares Hughes Courts while we're there, and the playground facility. But the one thing about moving pickleball to neighborhoods, I don't know if you've observed pickleball, but I would not own a house by pickleball courts. That unique sound of that banging pickleball, I have looked at the neighborhood in Hughes and have wondered, wow, how do they deal with this?
Yeah.
And coming back from Albuquerque, New Mexico to a national tournament there were not residences around a 20-court pickleball facility there. So that's one situation. The other thing I want to talk about is what sports does for people, and this is from school years and on into adult years. A shared sport unifies and creates camaraderie with people. And that doesn't change from school to being out of school. Shared interest activities is the same thing. There's nothing like unifying people around that. And I know that to be true with the community pickleball here in Topeka and other areas across the United States. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. Clark Trammell, citizen, community advocate, here to talk about this item on the agenda. I'd like to say, first of all, that I agree with Joe Ledbetter. Secondly, I agree with the pickleball players. And thirdly, I think we need to recognize that you all are doing your job, and it's appreciated. This subject needs to be talked about, needs to be debated where it needs to be debated, and needs to be understood by the community as well as the commission as what the community wants, what we can afford, and how we go about achieving it. My observation is this, as a business person. I've learned a lot just listening to the comments that were here, and I appreciate them. It affirms some thoughts I have. It also enlightened me on some numbers and some data that's important to the process. But I want to bring it together. What I vision and see as the problem here is not what we're talking about, but it's the timing of the implementation and the lack of the budget to support the implementation. I'm having the same conversation with the city council as to their engagement with the parks in the community that they oversee through their 9 districts. Parks are important, deferred maintenance, and when you look at business, the first thing you want to do is go through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and so on. It appears we started at step 3, moved to step 7, and we're ready to go to step 10. We need to back up and go through step 1, as Joe Ledbetter outlined, through the advisory board, get all the details in place, so we all understand the dynamics of what we're doing, the decisions have been made, all the T's and I's have been crossed and dotted, and that we're ready to have a presentation that we can all sit on and approve. We do need pickleball. We do need bikes. We do need all those ancillary services that make for quality of life. But we have to go through it through the steps. What I'm saying is there's an answer to all this that we can come together, but we need to do it at the right time. I think if this subject were presented at a later date, having gone through all the steps to where everything was covered from A to Z, then I do believe this could be approved and the understanding of what we're approving could be signed off by all of us. It's important to have a dialogue. I would say to the pickleball players, if I were in your group, which I'm going to join one day, that you need a business plan. Create a business plan that looks at all the tennis courts, as this lady before me said. Maybe they work, maybe they don't. Look at all the assets we have. Put a budget together. Do a 3-5-year plan on how it's going to be funded, how it's going to operate, where we're going to do it, and then let's come back and let's implement it into the big picture of Parks and Rec and what we're doing with all of our facilities. I'd say the same thing about this topic. I think we need a business plan. I think we need to understand that business plan as to where we are, why we are, and how we're going to get there. And all the numbers and the financial numbers and the data and the people and the places and things that need to go in a business plan so we can lay it out there and show that we strategically and intelligently thought through the process. And then let's implement it. That's the way you make good decisions. We're not doing that, and we can. But I applaud the commission for sitting here week after week and having this dialogue with us as a community. Thank you. I applaud the presenters the same thing. So, having said that, yes, sir.
Thank you for your comments.
Well, my pleasure.
Anyone else for public comment this morning?
Thank you. My name is Carol Marple. I am a citizen of the county. We own a lot of property out there. I also own a house around 8th and Rice Road in the city. I want to go off my script for a minute, and I would like to thank Dick for bringing it up. I was at the meeting when Commissioner Artzer made the comment that it only takes 2 votes to pass something. Now, I left with the feeling it's a done deal. I agree. That's what I thought. Then I thought, well, gee, they're not supposed to be talking among themselves. So, you know, what's going on? I can't begin to think what's in Commissioner Artzer's mind, and he can't begin to think what's in my mind, which keeps us all interested. So I'm back on script, and I want to say that fiscal responsibility is a term that we hear in this commission office. It's talked about, in my opinion, when it suits our commissioners. They said it was not fiscally responsible to talk about acquiring Camp Daisy for $600,000 because we still owed some money on bonds that would not be paid off until 2018. The commissioners told us they were being fiscally responsible when they decided to complete the renovations to the Expo Center in 2 or 3 years, instead of going with the time frame that was laid out in the interlocal agreement, which they signed with the city on how to use the half-cent sales tax. They had $45 million to renovate the Expo Center. They spent approximately $7 million on bonding that money so they could finish it early. They didn't have enough money. So they came back to the county commissioners, who then awarded them $3 million of our excess funds to go ahead to put money into the project. If you'll also notice, the Expo Center has items listed on the CIP asking for more money. We currently have $27,276,001 in excess funds. Our commissioners believe that we need a 25% reserve to operate the county. At no time have these county commissioners suggested that we need a tax cut to the taxpayer. They have told their department heads to bring in a flat budget. They are going to tell us that there will be no mill levy increase. That meaning that your taxes aren't going to go up. That is not true. Your taxes do go up because the value of your property goes up. Case in point, in 2017, the mill levy was 48.363. The taxes generated were $78,788,440.50. The mill levy in 2018 was 48.194. Wow, I'm going to see a tax decrease. I'm excited. Not so. The taxes generated were $81,851. Sorry, this is a little past my checkbook budget. I do have these numbers because I believe that it's much easier to look at numbers and to be able to follow along so you can actually see what's going on. All these numbers were from a Quora or information that I gathered from the county. There you go. Okay, our taxes went up to the tune of $3,094,711. Then the comment is, it's just a few dollars. It's $5 or $10 more a year. Well, very few working people have the luxury of coming to work and voting themselves a pay raise. Have you ever heard of the expression, you rob Peter to pay Paul? Well, that's what a lot of us do. The average income in Shawnee County is $52,088. There is not a department head here, if they could be honest, that would not tell you that they need more money in their budget to do their job properly. I want to mention a few more statistics. I've said this before, but I think it bears repeating. We are losing population in this county. We are the 8th highest tax county in Kansas. In the United States, we rank in the high 25% bracket of county taxes. A lot of the people that work here in this county choose to live somewhere else. Now, I want to specifically talk about the land that the county owns on 21st and Urish Road. We currently have the Midwest Aquatic Center. This was built with bond money. We bonded $9.25 million of bond money to build this. We currently make a payment of $647,911.20. For the year to date, January 1 to August 1, the Midwest Aquatic Center has brought in revenue of $179,223. doesn't compute. This payment has got to be made. It is built, we owe it. And the person that's going to make it is everybody in this room, the taxpayer. Now let's look at the proposed $10 million park. We have no idea if $10 million is enough. We have no plan. And what's more interesting, not one person has addressed how this payment will be made. Mrs. Griner stated the payment will probably be $850,000 per year for 15 years, and that the first year we can probably only pay interest. So let's step back a minute. We could have bought a turnkey, well-maintained, you can start using it the minute you purchase it, Camp Daisy for $600,000 or less. But our county commissioners would not even put this on the agenda to talk about it. That camp would have truly served the needs of the southwest quadrant. For that matter, it would have served everybody in Shawnee County. We, the taxpayers, will be making a payment of $1,497,911.20 for a park and aquatic center that only a small number of people will use. I have heard the request of the people who played pickleball. And I'd just kind of like to take a little bit of a poll here. Commissioner Archer, do you or any of your family play pickleball?
I'm not going to address that.
Commissioner Cook, will you answer it?
I don't. None of my family does.
Commissioner Rippon?
I plan on learning.
But you don't play currently. Does your family, any of your family play?
It's just my wife. Yeah, we'll probably learn, yeah.
Okay. I would be the first person in this room to agree that everybody needs exercise, because I'm overweight. I'm getting older. And that's it. There's a lot of people in this county that are overweight. Would it not serve the needs of everyone in this county to step back and explore the options that are coming in about different places that could be refurbished to play pickleball all over the county, and to start small with no money borrowed? And I found it interesting because I didn't know the numbers of $250,000. If we're going to make an $850,000 bond payment, why do that? Let's build the pickleball courts. We'll have money left over. But I also believe that walking trails in that area would be really good. You know, we need to take care of what is good for the people in our county. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It is an issue of what is good for our community. And if you don't believe that we need money for deferred maintenance, I challenge each and every one of you, when you leave this room and go out the door to go home, take a look at the Kansas flag on the flagpole out there. We are the capital of Kansas. This is the courthouse, and we're flying a flag that is in tatters. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I will say that our Parks and Rec is CAPRA certified, and it is well-maintained, and people tell me all the time, that our parks are better than they've ever been before. Number two, I did say that it does take two votes to approve something, and Commissioner Cook and Commissioner Bueller showed me that on several occasions. But to address taxes, my constituents are sick and tired of paying high taxes and getting shortchanged in parks and recreation opportunities. So, just to respond to your comments, Carol, thank you. Next person, please.
All right, my name is Leslie Prentiss. I've lived in Shawnee County for over 40 years. I have thoroughly enjoyed many parks and rec programs and trails throughout those years. I played softball on one of the diamonds on my wedding day. They've kept me healthy and strong. I hate to not have a scripted speech here because I am 70 years old. My body's strong thanks to pickleball and Parks and Rec in this city. However, my mind is not as strong as it has been. So I wrote down some points I'd like to make if other people didn't make them. And so that's what I'm going to try to do. I want to say just to honor her that I was taught pickleball by Eldana Coates. She's the most wonderful, inclusive, fantastic leader you could have of a sport. And she's a well-known pickleball champion. She has so many medals that she has a room for them. I retired later in 2016 after I started pickleball, and I've enjoyed it ever since. I don't have a pickleball shirt, so I had to wear my dress-up pickleball skirt. My doctors are amazed at how healthy I am, and I am too. And I'm going to say it's thanks to Parks and Rec in this city. And I love Lawrence. I went to school there. I would love to live there, but I love the Parks and Rec in Topeka. And I think the city is so fortunate to have I live out by Lake Shawnee. That's another thing. I live east of Lake Shawnee. And yeah, I would love to see pickleball courts there. But you know, I go to the mall and shop all the time. It's a mile from the mall where you want to put this. I will be there multiple times a week, and I would love to see new facilities. I've worked at the tournaments. I've seen people come. Eldana keeps statistics on who's staying in motels. And we are ambassadors for the city, and I have to say Hughes is not a beautiful place to invite people to. The parking is terrible. I mean, Eldana, she's always telling us do not park to impede the driveways of the people that live there, but that road is very narrow and there's not enough parking not to park on the road. If you put it in the southwest quadrant, there's so many places that people have to go by where they would shop and eat. You don't find that on the east side, and you don't find it in the mid-section that much. But also you have to have land that's flat and large enough for this, and it has to be owned by the county or it is a big expense. And when you talk about all the tennis courts, I tried to get them to convert some of the tennis courts out at Lake Shawnee into pickleball courts, and I think they're very underused. But they're used by Shawnee Heights for practices and for tennis tournaments, and quite a few tennis courts are, and they're used by schools for their kids' recreation. So you can't just go look at, decide to convert every tennis court. The Tennis Association doesn't really like pickleball. And they won't allow tournaments on courts that are, made for tennis. So anyway, I totally support this. But another thing I want to say, you've seen me before here on the comprehensive plan for the county. And I want to say that I was very pleased to read in the paper that in 2014 there was a plan developed, and it was a strategic plan. And it was according to consultants, professional consultants, for Shawnee County Parks and Rec. And it looked at the facilities, the recreational facilities, it divided the county into 4 quadrants. And the Southwest came up short because they were built later. Shawnee County started building parks, and I want this in the record. Shawnee County started building facilities for sports, in the parts that existed already. And then when it started growing west, it's been shorted. It doesn't have a rec. I'm not arguing for the rec center. I want pickleball courts. But it's a great place for that, and I think it includes trails. I think that you were talking about putting trails there too. It's got great parking, and it's going to have lights and restrooms, which we don't have at Hughes and can't have at Hughes. However, I believe we still will use Hughes, because if you go out there on a Wednesday night, you'll see people lined up that can't play because the courts are full already. And we're growing so rapidly, it just amazes me. But I also want to say, senior citizens, we care so much about children, and we care so much about young adults. We love it when they come out and we can, be with them. We watch the children in that neighborhood. We're very careful. You would think there might have been an accident. A 2-year-old ran out in front of me the other day in my car, but I was going very slowly because I understood the circumstances. We also, right here, Miss Lynette called the animal control. What are you doing? After she called the police, and we all gravitated for that area. We are good stewards. We have people that bring push brooms out to sweep away helicopters in the spring and sweep away leaves in the fall. We have people that come out with, I guess they're squeegees to clear off the courts when it's wet, to dry them off. So seniors are, we don't want to take away. I was so touched by that woman that came in and said she'd like to see Dornwood improved. I hope you can do that. But I trust you all that you are going to do deferred maintenance. If I didn't think that, I wouldn't be for this. But that plan, they studied these quadrants, and they recommended that a center be put there. And frankly, I trust experts. And I'm glad you have a plan. And I'm sorry that maybe it didn't work out the way the advisory board wanted, but I actually got some responses from them when I was trying to get pickleball courts at Shawnee, and I said, I'll be happy to talk to anybody. They never invited me to talk to them. I don't know if they invited Eldana. Anyway, thank you so much for considering this. I totally support it. I know you have difficult decisions to make. We saw earlier, young people that have health problems. We're not trying to take away from them. And thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Your sunny, positive outlook is refreshing. It certainly is. Anyone else for communications this morning?
I'd like to speak about the advisory council and our public comments.
Sure.
At every meeting on the agenda is posted public comments. And I don't know this lady, and I'm not going to refute anything she said. I simply have said to several pickleball people, please come to the advisory. It's on the website. We'll be happy to take your input. We want your input because you're part of the county. You help pay the taxes here, just like the softball people do, just like the swimming people do, just like the soccer ball people do. We have a large amount of people that want their needs met, and we're more than happy to listen to them, even if it's disc golf. I don't do disc golf, but I do kayak. But we don't have a kayakers association that I'm aware of, but that's okay. I still go over to Lake Shawnee and kayak. It's available. My point today is I personally am okay with building some pickleball courts, and I've heard the fiscal number of what it would cost. It is nowhere near $10 million, and $10 million in face of $14 million worth of deferred maintenance system-wide, we just can't afford, sir. We cannot afford it. We don't have it. It's not in any future budgets that I can see. And if the deferred maintenance number was not so high, I might be more in support of something like that, providing it had actually been vetted with the advisory. But nonetheless, whether you used us or not, the way is required in the contract, we don't have the money in the future to pay for even the operations or the bond payments coming from Parks and Rec. It's not there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
I'll be real brief here. I too want to make sure that the pickleball people that are in this chamber right now know that I love sports. I've been in sports my whole life, and I would be for pickleball courts. If I was on the commission right now, I would be looking at trying to find a proposal now where you come up with the money, even though you're going to have to borrow it, to take care of the pickleball courts and whatever parking lot or arrangement that would have to be made to accommodate that, because I never thought about the parking over there at Hughes Court being as bad as one of the former speakers said. I would, if I was on your commission, propose that you put off the discussion of the center, put together everything you can and send it to the advisory board so that everybody knows all we do is look at these situations, kind of shoot some ideas into it and send it back to you. All we can do is advise, but we have to kind of see the information before we can even make any notations about it. So my proposal would be to figure out how to get the money for the racquetball, for the pickleball courts, and maybe put off the additional money that would have been required to try to build that center at this time. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Jeff Dunaway. I hadn't planned on speaking today, but
finally decided I had to. One of the questions I've got to ask everyone is, why is Shawnee County losing population? Is it a lack of facilities and opportunities? Our pickleball group has done several things. We've gone zip lining. We went to Manhattan to do that. We went to Kansas City to do Top Golf. I think that we need to be a little forward thinking on things, okay? Recently, we had a friend of ours from Wellington stay with us. Excuse me, I got allergies. She doesn't do sports. She's head of a community college in Wellington. So she's on a lot of boards, a lot of activities in Wichita and Wellington, that area. We were talking, she said, do you realize that Wichita is trying to get the senior and the Sunflower Games in Wichita? I said, yeah, I was at a tournament a couple months ago and I heard that numerous times. She said, no, they're putting on a full court press for that. She says, do you guys realize how much revenue you would lose from that? People coming in, hotels, restaurants, and that. I said, you know, I'm not sure a lot of people really care about it. And when we talk about putting pickleball courts around the city, that wouldn't lend to a tournament, okay? I've been to Parks and Rec tournaments in, let's see, Lawrence, Wichita, Oklahoma City, Omaha, Kansas City, North Kansas City, Blue Spring. You get the idea, a bunch of them. I've stayed in hotel rooms, I've eaten out, had entertainment, brought in a lot of revenue. And I think that the pickleball courts at 21st and Urish and a facility there in general would help Shawnee County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else? Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
since we are at the end of the public comment, before we get into our discussion, we have been going for an hour and a half. Our public policy would be to stand at an hour. We missed that. Looking at Linda Oakes for our health director for public policy for health, it suggests that we stretch our legs. I would request that we take a 10-minute recess to stretch our legs, advise instead of standing, which I know the clerk loves us standing while she's trying to take notes, and then we come back to start our discussion of the CIP.
I would ask that we wait on that for a few minutes and finish this discussion, because I know a lot of people are interested in what we're going to do. I would respectfully ask that we continue, and then once we have an opportunity to consider a motion I'm going to make, then we take a 10-minute break, if that's okay.
I made a motion. If there's no second, then it would die. So it's dead. So now you can do whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Teamwork makes the dream work. My constituents, and I would imagine the constituents of the First District, are really, as I mentioned, sick and tired of paying high taxes and not having opportunities in parks and recreation. So I want to make the following motion. And I want to move to issue $10 million of COP to fund the following. First, grant requirements to complete the Deer Creek Trail in southeast Topeka. Second, the balance of funds to enhance the family park at 21st and Urish to include pickleball court pavilion with 20 lighted courts with restrooms and lockers. Number 2, a multi-generational meeting place. Number 3, family fitness trails. And number 4, playground equipment with picnic tables. I'd ask Commissioner Rippon to use his 30 years of park planning to assist the Parks and Rec Director in making this happen. I will assist the Parks and Rec Director in securing naming rights. I can just envision the True Blue Pickleball Pavilion. John Nikes, I'm coming after you. This is an opportunity that we may not have for a long time. So that is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made? Yes,
Chairman.
Commissioner Cook, go right ahead.
I would like to address the commission.
Of course.
There's a couple of things that I've sat on far too long and not commented on. Last week, when you made the comment that it takes two to pass anything, that was disrespectful. Yes, it was, sir. Your comment today about that Commissioner Bueller and I voted for something was also disrespectful. It was never personal. There is not a single vote that I have taken that is personal to attack you. This office has never been about the person in the chair. It's been about what is best for the community. So you and I may personally disagree as to what's best for the community. But sir, I have never disrespected you as a commissioner. That strikes to the heart. Now, this CIP, this was an idea that was proposed by Commissioner Rippon, long overdue. The capital improvement plan, laying out in a public format a 5-year plan. We are a better commission for this idea from Commissioner Rippon, and I'd like to thank him for that. It sets priorities, notice of intent. That's this $10 million. We're not taking out $10 million today. This is a public notice of an intent at some later point in 2020 to take out debt. We have not had any discussion publicly about what this facility would look like. Project number 46 talks about the family park. It does not list what it would look like, what it would offer, what it would do. It's very vague, very ambiguous. We have always prided ourselves on public engagement, hosting listening sessions, planning, and development. Under a best-case scenario, we will probably not be turning any dirt until August of next year. We will need surveys, engineering, RFP, construction, through the planning department, through the city of Topeka, because this falls within the 3-mile radius, for their approval, before any construction would occur. So we're not talking about a project that's going to be here before August or September or October of next year. My concern has never been against pickleball. My concern has never been that the Southwest should not have a facility. It has been about the amount of the debt. Now, we should look at what is our competition with private entities, and as we factor in our public discussion, we should tailor something. Life is about change. 100 years ago, horseshoes was the thing to play. We hosted the World Series of Horseshoes 4 years ago. Our horseshoe pits will need to be moved due to the expansion of Gage Park, where they have been since the inception of Gage Park. We have not had a timeline for our construction. We don't know what our total cost is going to be. We don't know what it's going to offer. Unlike a speaker earlier today, I am not alleging that you and Commissioner Rippon have had some backroom dealings, because that is not the person you are. And I know that's not the person you are. Public engagement is key. There have been no plans presented. Now, if we were to look at a proposal, I know you've made your proposal and it's been seconded. Maybe this is already done. But had I been given the opportunity, which you've given me now, my proposal would be to issue $6 million of debt, applying $4 million immediately to deferred maintenance within Parks and Recreation. $1 million towards alternative and new parks enhancements. If we were to look at pickleball, they spoke to us today and said they need a flat surface with parking in a non-residential area. A flat surface with parking in a non-residential area would also fit the Crossover tennis facility. We can build new pickleball at Crossover and attract all of the same that we are talking about here today. That would be part of a $1 million new enhancement. That leaves $1 million. During our budget discussions, we heard repeatedly from the courts, from the treasurer, from the district attorney, and from other departments about a need for space within our courthouse. This is a building that was completed in construction in 1965. By 1986, they had identified that they were out of space. That's when the Shawnee County Jail was moved out of this facility. Those of us that are in the room, we remember when the jail was here, and the sheriff's office was also here, but then moved to the law enforcement center. The county has been kicking a can down the street really since the 1980s. We are out of space in this facility. I think that we should take $1 million towards acquisition of new property and development of a county administrative offices. That would give more space to the courts and the district attorney to prosecute, and at the same time allow us to expand and offer our county services in its own facility, much like Johnson County does and other counties across the state. But that would have been my proposal, was $6 million. And again, we are all here not personal. We've talked about this before. I've brought this up before. And for you to make the assertion that somehow Commissioner Bueller and I ganged up on you for personal reasons, smirk if you want. That's the assertion you made. So, that's all I got to say about that.
Calm down, Commissioner. First, calm down. I never made the assertion that anyone has ganged up on me. I just said, in the past, we've had 2-to-1 votes. I deeply apologize if you took that as being personal at you. I never meant to be personal. This is always professional. It's business. We're a team. We work together.
I
So
agree.
I personally apologize if you took it the wrong way. Gee, I feel sorry for Commissioner Rippon. Any thoughts, Commissioner?
Well, I wanted to address a few things about pickleball, and they've obviously outgrown Hughes Park. The parking's an issue. You don't want to put lights in a neighborhood like Hughes Park. The neighbors wouldn't like that. Restrooms don't work well in little neighborhood parks. They just get vandalized. They work better in more in facilities where, like a Gage Park or out the lake or places like that, where you have more traffic going by. The thing I like about the 21st and Uri site, it's away from the neighborhoods. We have existing parking that's there, and I think it's just a good location. I've heard a tremendous amount about deferred maintenance in the last couple weeks. There's such a thing as deferred development, too. And that area of town has had deferred development. There hasn't been anything built out there other than a pool in years. And a lot of the people that come here, they have a lot of development in their areas of town, and yet they don't want somebody over there to have any development. What's with that? And I think it's time that we take care of those people and address their needs. They pay a lot of taxes over there, and they deserve something. They deserve some recreational facilities. And I think we can develop a pickleball facility, too, that will draw large crowds. We can have big tournaments. Yeah, I don't know that it'll be a fad. I don't know that anybody knows that. It may be around forever. We don't know. But we know there's a need now. And I just wanted to make those comments.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Cook.
I accept your apology, but I would also note, as our, looking at our parliamentarian and counselor, that my $6 million was a,
Motion made by Commissioner Archer to issue $10 million of COP to fund grant requirements for Deer Creek and to enhance the family park at 21st and Urish. All in favor say aye, opposed say no.
no.
Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner Cook is dissenting. Let's do take. Thank you for attending today. 10-minute break, and I do want to stress to Commissioner Cook that nothing I have done was personal, and I understand your position and I respect it. We're in recess for 10 minutes. Call us back into order and turn it over to Betty Griner.
Okay, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. And as you know, that we have, our capital improvement plan encompasses 12 different funds. My suggestion would be that we look at some of these other funds that are a little more cut and dried, and the funding sources have already been identified, and we go through that process. I would suggest that we start here with the solid waste fund. There are 7 projects that have been submitted. Maybe I should start out by telling a little bit about my my chart here. It starts out by giving a project number, which is mainly for you, the commissioners, but then it gives a brief description of the project, the priority level, as they submitted each of these projects, the department head was asked to prioritize them in one of 4 categories: critical, high, normal, and low. The next column is the total amount of the request, and then is the 5 years are listed separately, so 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and 24, and then the total on there. So for the solid waste fund, we have 7 projects totaling $6,115,290. They are all given a priority level of normal, and they are spread out through the 5 years. This fund is all fee-based, no tax dollars, and should be able to support these expenditures. So, does anyone have any questions on these projects or anything they would like to change, adjust?
Questions?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Guess we're good.
Then if we go on to the next group of funds, these are the Public Works funds. There's 4 funds here. These are Public Works Special Bridge Fund, Public Works Special Equipment Fund, Special Works Special Highway Fund, and then the County Sales Tax Fund. For the sales tax, they get an allotment of money for county bridges, and then also later on after this, but they will have some money from sales tax for road projects. But that is beyond the 2024 timeframe. So they have 40 projects that are listed, totaling $24,254,791 over the 5 years. And all of these projects, the funding sources have been identified, as you see here. And so I would ask if you have any problems or questions, adjustments, or anything on these projects.
Comments or questions on the Public Works?
No.
Nope.
Then we go on to the Land Records Fund, which you know, but the public may want to know that it's money that goes in to actually the Register of Deeds funds, and then anything over a certain amount she can transfer to this Land Records Fund that has to be used for land records of some type in some way. There is just one request from the appraiser's office for vehicle replacements, and this is over a 3-year period of time. This is something that is anticipated that this fund would be able to fund these requests. Any concerns on this fund?
No.
No, say none.
Our next category is just general fund budgets. There are 2 here that are projects that the sheriff's office feels that they can fund through their general fund budget. And there's not any in the year 2020, but there's, like I say, 2 projects. They are encompass years 2021 through 2024, and like I say, they anticipate they will be able to pay these out of their budget.
So any questions on these?
No.
See none.
Okay, our next category, the Parks and Rec Building Maintenance Fund. And the Building Maintenance Fund, which is Fund 31, really encompasses two sub-funds, I guess you would call them, the Parks and Rec 3R Fund and the Parks and Rec Building Maintenance Fund. They have requested 15 projects from this, excuse me, totaling $4,050,000. The priorities are high to normal and spread over the 5 years. This fund receives money from their budget each year that you have included in their general fund budget that they transfer into this, but it also receives all the revenue from the federal lands, because by our agreement with the federal government, that revenue cannot go into the general fund.
So that means about 800,000 or 900,000 per year
Yes. that
actually go
goes
into
into this.
maintenance of Parks and Rec facilities.
And in my conversation with the Parks and Rec Department, they believe that this fund will be able to support all of these projects.
Very good. Other questions? No. Okay, thank you.
The next is the Stormont Vail Event Center Capital Outlay Fund. They have 4 projects here that are like an Ag Hall roof, Landon Arena roof replacement, Heritage Hall, HVAC, chiller system. These are items that there's four projects totaling $2,665,000. None of them are listed for 2020. All of them are listed in the later years. To me, these projects are better suited for long-term debt because they are projects that have long, useful lives. And so I would suggest that these projects be considered when we're looking at our long-term debt further out. You know, we've already discussed 2020, but further out, that I would suggest these be considered along with that.
Then we have a motion for no action taken for 2020.
Motion made, no action for 2020. Seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Next item.
And that brings us to the difficult one. This is where we look at our capital outlay and the new debt. Now, this spreadsheet, it's the same format that I've had used before, but on the priority column there, you will see that I have different colors. I've color-coded the priorities. Anything that had a critical is in a bright yellow, high is in an orange, normal is in a blue, and low is in green, just so it's kind of easier for us to look at these. If I can get my mouse working here. Well, I can't even see it. There it is. Okay. And then also on this one, I have listed a column that is beyond 2024. If it's something that you think is a worthy project, but that we cannot fund within the 5 years, and you would like to put it in as something that we will look at beyond 2024, I've added a column for that in here in the yellow. I've also added as the first project an item that says miscellaneous small capital outlay projects. As you know, to be eligible for the CIP, a project had to be $50,000 or more. There are small departments in the county or projects within even a bigger one that might have small projects that are under the $50,000, but it would be hard for them to absorb it into their budget. Tried to look back over the last few years and how much of our capital outlay each year has been spent on those small items, and came up with an average of about $100,000. So I have added that as a project here that I would suggest we look at putting an amount in there for each of the 5 years, and then we would use our normal, our old method, I guess you would say, of looking at that in November or December and allocating that out to smaller projects.
I would move that we accept the $100,000 for 2020 for small capital items.
Second.
Commissioner?
Before we take a vote, do we have an amount, or can we talk about the amount that we have for capital outlay?
Yes.
Budgeted?
Great idea. Of course, we have not discussed the budget yet, so, nothing has been decided on that. The last few years, we have had $2 million. So I have put a starting point, I guess you would say, of $2 million there. I would also suggest in future years that we take that up to at least $2.5 million, just because there seems to be more and more needs. I will also remind you that in, I think it was April of this year, we received some defeasance money of $106,000 that we did deposit into this fund that is still in there. As we have projects that are completed, there's many times there are some funds left over from that, and those stay in that fund also.
So, Mr. Chair, as
Yes.
part of the record for our clerk, if we could finalize our vote from the 100,000 first, and then I would have a secondary motion.
Okay.
Did we have a second on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to approve by
Thank you.
Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
I think it was actually Commissioner Rippon that seconded, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner,
Yes, Commissioner Cook.
I would move that we set a capital outlay amount of $2.5 million. This will be a firm amount that will be part then of our 2020 budget. That is a motion for $2.5 million for capital outlay.
I don't hear a second, Commissioner, so I think we need to move on.
Are we going to set, and I
Well,
find it difficult that if we're going to be going through projects, how we can determine, again, even if we're working off of an amount, how do we determine our priority among all of these items if we don't have a total budget that we're working within?
I will, the budget assumes $2 million, and I will make a motion to confirm that it will be $2 million.
Then I can second that.
Okay.
That's fine. I need an amount, I need a parameter to work within.
I understand, and you're absolutely correct. Motion made to set the total by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook, I think this time. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0.
Chair.
Yes.
I
Commissioner.
need to get my notes. I thought I had them all. I'm listening somewhere.
Okay.
I will mention that I did we put a little formula down here at the bottom that shows you the total amount and then how much you have left. So, just so we don't have to be trying to do the math in our head. Okay, so how would you prefer to go through this? We can go through it by project, we can go through, you know, however, if you have priorities that you would like to look at first, we can do that.
I would suggest, and we'll leave it to the other commissioners, that we specifically address 2020. And we had some carryover from 2019 that probably needs to be addressed, and then address the issues that we want to fund for 2020 and the requests that have been made. Does that work for
Yes.
everyone? Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner.
With that in mind, I would move that we fund the room 3A and room 3B courtroom renovations. This commission has undertaken at least 2 courtrooms per year, and this would be in accordance with what we've done in the past. This will leave still another courtroom that's not done, but again, getting us closer towards bit by bit of courthouse renovations. But that would be a motion to renovate 3A and 3B. Those are 2 separate items.
I don't hear a second for that.
I think I could second that. I think that would be.
Okay. Well, I won't support that. In my view, we've done a lot of courtroom renovations. I would only support doing courtroom 3B. But motion made and seconded to do 3B and 3A. All in favor say aye, opposed no, and I say no. Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner Archer dissenting. I would, as far as the courthouse surveillance system, I would recommend that we allocate $250,000 for that endeavor.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0.
Give me just a minute here to find
Okay.
it on my screen. There, okay. That was 250?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would move for a 150,000 for the courthouse corrections elevator. We had set aside 100,000 last year. This is an amount that came in higher than what we had anticipated when we went out for cost. This is the elevator that's used exclusively for transportation of the inmates from the Sally Port to the holding cell on the 4th floor. If that elevator were to go out, there really is no safe way for the public and the inmates to be in the facility at the same time. In the facility, I mean courthouse.
I will second that. Motion made to approve $150,000 for the corrections elevator modernization by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. I will make a motion for Public Works dump truck refresh to allocate $200,000 to that particular project.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook, to allocate $200,000 to Public Works. All in favor say aye, opposed no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, or next discussion. I will make a motion to approve $50,000 for courthouse building control system upgrades and replacement.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
We might wait, Commissioner Rippon. I know that he had some notes, and I want to make sure
Oh,
that we give him
I'm-
adequate
no, I'm-
time to,
I'm-
because otherwise, if we
I'm
keep going
keeping
the
up.
pace we're going to go, we're going to run out of money before Commissioner Rippon has a chance to add any input.
I'm keeping up. I'm fine.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Well said. We up to speed? I will make a motion to approve $113,643 for the Department of Corrections radio replacement. And I know this is a phase-in over several years to upgrade our radio equipment in the jail.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for $50,000 for the network distribution switch replacements for IT.
I will second that. Motion made to approve the $50,000 for network distribution switch replacements by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Along those lines, I will move that we approve $130,000 for process server software, soft code.
Second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook.
I'm sorry, what one was that?
$130,000.
Oh, the sheriff's. I'm sorry, I was looking at IT, I wasn't finding it. Okay. Okay. 130,000.
Commissioner Rippon, is it?
Okay.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. I will also,
Mr. Chairman, can we
Yes.
see where we stand?
Yeah.
as a
Yes.
Total, just to kind of keep up with where we're at.
Oh.
642.
Okay. All right, thank you. Go
okay,
ahead.
certainly.
I can't-
I'd like
yeah.
to recommend or make a motion that we allocate $250,000 for the sheriff's fleet refresh.
Second.
Motion made to allocate $250,000 for sheriff's fleet refresh by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for the $55,400 for the outdoor warning coverage. This would include adding tornado sirens into Oakland and some of our other areas where we don't have, and emergency management is identified as being deficient.
I'll second that.
It's not on my list, but
It is under.
I know it's not on my list of things to
Was it
approve.
Oh, I
Sorry,
see.
Commissioner, was it 55?
55,400.
Okay, the whole thing.
Motion made to approve outdoor warning increased coverage by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon for $55,400. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. No. Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner Archer dissents. I will move to approve $150,000 for the hyper-converged infrastructure platform expansion. That's part of our IT that keeps us in business, and so that's a motion.
Second.
Motion made to approve the $150,000 for the infrastructure platform expansion by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Our tally, if we can. All right.
What is it?
187?
Okay.
Ooh, getting close.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I would move for it is not identified on our list as being under capital outlay. It's actually listed under new debt. But I think that it is something that is essential for the completion. I would move for $150,000 for the floating playground. It's for the Adventure Cove out at Lake Shawnee. It would finish that project, so we can complete that and cross that off our list. 175 is what the estimate is. My motion would be for 150.
I don't hear a second.
I will second that.
Okay.
I'd like to see it finished up.
All right. Motion made to approve 150,000.
What are we up to?
Sorry, I'm at an angle, I'm having a real hard time reading this, so. 150 was the?
Yes.
Yes. Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Okay, that takes us to
3700.
Commissioners, I would look at our IT fleet replacement. I don't know that I would support the full 22,000, but I would support, our IT department is very mobile and needing to get from the North Annex to all the different recreational facilities, including the courthouse. And so their fleet is pretty aged. And so
Okay.
I would maybe look at allocating something towards that replacement.
Okay. Do you have a number in mind, Commissioner?
I know
How
that
much we got left?
we
how
have
much
more
we had
than-
left?
We have more than
37,000.
37,000.
22,000 is what Mr. Oblander had estimated. I don't know if we want to allocate the full 22,000. All right, then, I'm seeing nods of heads, so I'll move to 22,000 for IT fleet refresh.
Second.
Motion made to approve $22,000 for IT fleet replacements by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
So 15,000.
I don't think we're getting 15,000 items. Dollar items left on the list. I think that means that anything left will be pushed over till 2021.
Or you could use balance in that fund, either way.
Okay.
I'll leave that at sit at that.
Okay, okay. Any other discussion on the CIP?
I do have a question for our county counselor. Given the series of votes that have transpired, because there are some things in the CIP that you have voted against, I would be conflicted. There's some items that I've voted against. Or are we identifying the CIP as a series, much like our budget? And so, while we may disagree with parts of the CIP, this is the conglomeration. And this, again, this is a discussion. This is the first time we've done a CIP. I'm just wanting to
Yeah.
see what our vote is actually for at the end of the day.
Well,
And so maybe asking our county councilor what we're voting for.
Good morning, Jim Krause, Shawnee County Councilor. I think you can do it either way. You know, it's a series of votes, and you can stand by that as a series of votes. You can decide if you want to vote on the package as presented to see if it gets an overall vote. I think you can do it either way, but I think if you do not vote at this point, what you've decided will stand unless you vote to change it later.
I think, I view it as similar to the budget process where we disagree on individual items, but we usually come together at the end and pass a budget. So is that,
I would see this as a series of votes, and so my no would still stand as to the new debt. Your no's would still stand as to some of the capital outlay.
right?
And I would just want that to be reflected.
Okay, and I appreciate that. Okay, motion, I'll make a motion to approve the CIP as,
Wait a minute.
oh, all right, darn it, okay.
I'm sorry,
okay.
but the plan, or my hope, was that we would go through the whole 5 years. And the CIP is, at this point in time, our best guess for the whole 5 years, not
Right.
just for 2020. 2020 would have more weight to it, of course, because 2020 would be pretty much in concrete for, the next budget year.
Right.
But we would also go through this exercise for the other 4 years, and that this would be our best guess at this point in time, what would be the projects for the total 5 years.
And what are you proposing?
But we would go through this same process for each of the 5 years.
Okay,
And I am open to me, a 5-year CIP would be what we plan at this
Right.
point in time for the next 5 years.
and in my view, that's well documented. What the critical decisions are the ones we just made,
Correct.
addressing 2020. Commissioner Cook, do you have a preference?
I would ask that the timelines that we've established or that the department heads have submitted would just stand, but not be actionable. I know that there are projects that are not submitted. For example, at the Department of Corrections, where the Department of Corrections has been looking at for a number of years, addressing mental health issues, and the Sallyport front entrance of the Department of Corrections. That would be a potential new debt that might be presented in the 2021 budget.
Right.
I think it's difficult for us to forecast every new debt. It's impossible for us to forecast every unallocated amount. But I think these are a good indicator of projects that we need to be on the horizon, whether it's the Helen Hawker Theater, whether it's Ward Mead, whether it's Department of Corrections, whether it's Public Works, where that may be. But I would ask that we not, I know that from a audit finance perspective, it makes their job much more concrete because the commission has set forth very solidly, these are our priorities. But I don't know, Commissioner Rippon, this was your idea. You
Okay.
brought us here.
I don't know how we can do that right now, plan out 5 years. I think the critical thing is to work on the 2020 CIP and to approve that. And then, because it's just a planning tool and it's in flux. It's gonna move around from year to year, so I would be happy with just worrying about this 2020 budget.
All right, so with that then being said, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that we note the department heads' requests and the department heads' timelines, but not taking any action towards those
Other
years.
years other than 2020.
Other than 2020.
Okay, and would this motion that you made include 2020 for all the other funds that we went over earlier?
Yes, that's the way that I
Yes.
respond.
Okay, okay. And
Understood.
since this is our first year, Jim, does this comply with the policy that we enacted? Okay.
It's a plan, right?
Yes,
A guideline.
yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the CIP.
I'll second.
Motion made to approve by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Betty. Next item, please.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Anyone for administrative communications?
Oh,
No, that's right. I'm just going to move them out of your way.
I wasn't going to touch it.
But you.
Okay. My name is Carol Marple again, and I just want to make a couple of comments. I would like to thank Commissioner Cook for his proposal. I thought it would have been a win-win situation for all of us, and I'm sorry that it did not pass. I would like to make just a couple general comments to all the commissioners, in particular Commissioner Rippon. Driving 25 minutes to a new park is not what I consider accessible for my family. There are those of us that live in the county, the southwest part of the county, Rossville, Silver Lake, that's a long drive. That's a lot of money to spend on one park. It could have been scattered around, and parks could have been made more accessible to people within the county. This is a park within the city. The county people pay taxes. I just hope that you will remember that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol, I just want to say that I've been working with the city of Auburn to develop some master plans for their parks and help guide them for a little better recreation and facilities there. So I have not neglected those people. I'm
They
working on
don't have
it.
any money.
Well, we'll get our plan in place first.
Other comments?
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. I just wanted to make something clear that the CIP plan is just that. It is a plan. It does not take the place of our purchasing policy, and anything that moves forward from this still will go through the same procedures as purchasing policy for any other project for the county.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Courtney House, Director of Public Works. Gary Wormsby Drive. Today they're supposed to stripe, and if everything goes well, that project will complete today.
Good deal.
So,
Thank you, Kurt. That's great news. Anyone else? I'll turn to Commissioner Rippon because he keeps getting upstaged by Commissioner Cook.
Really, I don't have anything to say today.
Okay.
Unusual. I don't know.
Commissioner Cook?
Commissioners, there are challenges that are always going to be coming at us. Some we see, some we don't. There are challenges within our community, and I would hope that we are able to respond as they develop. I think that we need to look at what's best for the whole community as we move forward. And looking at always a future focus, and not just what's before us today, but looking and planning 10, 20, and 50 years down the road. And again, I'd like to thank Commissioner Rippon for starting us on this CIP. It's different, but I think that it is a needed planning tool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. It has been a long day. I would again like to publicly apologize to Commissioner Cook. I never meant to, I just never meant to offend him. We've gotten along very well together for almost 7 years. We win some and we lose some. And that's just the nature. But I do publicly apologize again. I never meant anything to be personal. It's just business and getting things accomplished for our community. Next item, please.
Item 6, executive session.
Thank goodness there's not a need. We're officially adjourned.
Find the,
Resolution here, Shawnee, your authorization signatures.
Sure.